AI and the new solid-state battery. Silver's uses, it's really kind of legendary. I call it a little bit like the Swiss knife, army knife of metals. It has just so many incredible uses. It's second only to oil as the most widely used commodity. It has over 10,000 uses. It's the most reflective metal. It's an excellent conductor of heat and electricity. Resists corrosion and oxidation. It's the second most malleable metal after gold. And of course, it has fantastic antibacterial and antimicrobial properties. Now, this is a statement by Sprott Asset Management. And they talk about silver and the AI implications. And they're basically saying that because of the rise of AI, the demand for silver is going to rise as well. And there's all these end-use applications that are AI-related that include transportation, nanotechnology, biotech, healthcare, consumer wearables, computing, energy storage, and data centers. And I'm going to talk about that last one a bit more. So this chart shows global data generated per year. So we all know we're generating data, that we're really in an information economy. That's been the case for a while. And as the rest of the world modernizes, that's going to be the case even more. So between 2010 and 2013, there was a 60 times increase in the amount of data generated. That's the amount of data that we generate is now forecast to grow by 50% in the next year. And we're going to have in the next year more than all of the world data generated that was generated between 2010 and 2016. This is a huge trend. Data has to be stored somewhere. That needs to be backed up. That requires energy. And then there's the AI implication that you can layer on top of that. So AI is just, as I say, another layer of demand growth. The size of data centers and capacity growth from AI is going to be something really to be reckoned with. An example is that a chat GPT query uses about 10 times more energy compared to a Google search. And it's expected that by 2030, data centers alone in the US will take 7.5% of all US energy versus 2.5% last year. So data centers are going to triple their percentage of US energy demand. So all these big tech companies have net zero targets. They want and need to try to meet these targets. And obviously, some of the best, an incredible announcement yesterday, I don't know if any of you saw it, but that Microsoft said they're going to restart the 3 Mile Island nuclear facility because they need the electricity for it. Net zero or close to zero emissions are really something that they're continuing to push. One of the fastest energy sources that you can get approved is solar. And this chart shows that all of the renewable energy projects in the US in the third quarter of 2023, the yellow dots are solar. So you can see that solar really dominates the new power sources in the US. And a couple words on Samsung's new solid-state battery. So obviously this goes into EVs. This is really probably going to be a game changer. It has an 800-kilometer range. It takes 9 minutes to charge versus much longer on current EVs. It has a 20-year lifespan, and it's 50% smaller than your current lithium-ion battery. The reality of silver is that we're facing a drought of supply. This chart shows you the light blue bars are demand, the dark blue bars are supply. And I've highlighted in yellow that we've been in a deficit scenario, and that blue line at the bottom is the net of the two. And so that's been since 2021. We've been in a net deficit. That's forecast again this year. And if you add the deficits of the last 4 years, including what's forecast for 2024, we're at 759 million ounces. Just think about the fact that entire silver supply each year is 1 billion ounces. So we're talking about 75% of a single year's supply is the cumulative deficit of the last 4 years. Really something. Silver primary mines are already very rare, and this info from S&P Market Intelligence tells us that they think that silver from primary silver mines will peak in 2 years and start to fall after that. So where the silver is going to come from is anyone's guess. If you look at, now there's a lot of info here. This is from the Silver Institute's 2024 report, but it tells you all of the, or with some detail, a lot of the supply and a lot of the demand areas for silver. And so just some things to highlight. Between 2016 and 2020, solar was mostly averaged around 80 million ounces. And then 2021, it jumped to 89 million ounces. And then it blasted to 119 million ounces. Last year was 194 million ounces. That was a 64% growth in silver demand for solar alone from 2022 to 2023, and the forecast for this year is 232 million ounces. We went from 8%, solar being 8% of all supply in 2020 to 23% this year as forecast. I think that forecast is going to end up being low, but again, we're in a deficit position. That doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. Silver mined throughout the world. The three biggest silver miners are Mexico, Peru, and China. Mexico is about double of either of the other two at 200 million ounces. Peru and China about 107, 110 or so million ounces. But this is very much in contrast to silver production. Silver reserves are much, much higher in Peru, for example. This is in thousands of metric tons, so about 1.1 million metric tons in Peru versus Mexico, which is the largest producers, which has only 37 million metric tons. So Mexico is producing the most, yet it has much, much lower reserves than 5 or 6 other countries. If you look at the combined output, Mexico and Peru, over the last 10 years almost, that's fallen by 25%. The all-in sustaining cost globally for silver is roughly about $14. You have to ask yourself, if that's the case, at $31 today, they should be making money hand over fist, and yet why is mine production falling? Why are we not getting more silver out of the ground if it's so profitable? This chart is critical markets balanced for a number of critical minerals, metals, aluminum, copper, nickel, zinc, lithium, cobalt, platinum, and silver. Silver has the biggest deficit by 2030 forecast. We're talking about, hard to imagine, but 120% deficit in silver by 2030.